Hello dear students, I hope everything goes well. I am recording this video in order to practice a little bit with you about the skills to find the main idea. As you know, in our TOEFL course we are supposed to know how to find it and how to use it whenever we have to respond to information or whenever we will have to read. So please follow these advices and then you are going to do some exercises that I'm providing you on our course. So the first thing to do is to be able to make some exercises, and we are going to study about the first skill that the book of TOEFL advises us to follow, which is making questions and of course answering the questions about the details of a passage. So here I have this information and I'm going to read with you, and we are going to solve the problems that we find. Please read with me. It is a very common activity for reading passages in the reading comprehension section of the TOEFL test to have questions about the overall ideas in a passage. The most common type of questions ask about the main idea, topic, title, or subject. Occasionally, there will be also a question about how the information in the passage is organized. The first skill that we're going to study is to answer the main idea questions in a correct form. So let's read about what is that. It says, almost every reading passage on the TOEFL tests will have a question about the main idea of a passage. Such a question may be worded in a variety of ways. You may, for example, be asked to identify the topic, subject, title, primary idea, or main idea. These questions are all really asking what primary point the author is trying to get across the passage. Since TOEFL passages are generally written in a traditionally organized manner, it is not difficult to find the main idea by studying the topic sentence, which is the most probably found at the beginning of a paragraph. If a passage consists of only one paragraph, you should study the beginning of that paragraph to determine the main idea. So the first skill to study is to answer the questions, but first you have to understand what the passage informs. In the example number 1, we are going to read about the passage of the philosophy of John Dewey. So let's read together please, and then we're going to try to answer which is the main idea of this passage. It says, in the philosophy of John Dewey, a sharp distinction is made between intelligence and reasoning. According to Dewey, intelligence is only absolute way to achieve a balance between realism and idealism, between practicality and wisdom of life. And wisdom of life. Intelligence involves interacting with other things and knowing them, while reasoning is merely the act of observer, a mind that beholds or grasps objects outside the world of things. With reasoning, a level of mental certainty can be achieved, but it is through intelligence that control is taken of the events that shape one's life. And here we have the questions for us to find the main idea. What is the topic of this passage? A. The intelligence of John Dewey. B. Distinction made by John Dewey. C. Dewey's ideas on the ability to reason. Or D. How intelligence differs from reasoning in Dewey's works. So please try to answer. I'm going to give you time for you to think. Try to analyze what is the main idea of passage in this example 1. Yes, the main idea is letter D, because the topic of this passage is how intelligence differs from reasoning as the interpretation of Dewey's works. So that was the first idea on how to find the main idea of the passage. Let's continue for the second skill that they advise us to follow, and it is study the beginning. Whenever we read, we try to mention or try to find the information that is posted on the first ideas. So usually the main idea is going to be there. If a passage, let's read together, consists of more than one paragraph, you should study the beginning of each paragraph to determine the main idea. The example 2 says, the passage, nitrogen fixation is a process by which nitrogen is continuously fed into biological circulation. In this process, certain algae and bacteria convert nitrogen into ammonia, NH. This newly created ammonia is then for the most part absorbed by plants. The opposite process of nitrification returns nitrogen to the air. During the process of the nitrification, bacteria cause some of the nitrates from the soil to convert into gaseous nitrogen or nitrous oxide, N2O. In this gaseous from the nitrogen returns to the atmosphere. The question says, which of the following would be the best title for this passage? A. The process of nitrogen fixation. B. Two nitrogen processes. C. The return of nitrogen to the air. And D. The effect of nitrogen on plant life. So you have to think and study the beginning of the passage. In this case, this is the information that we have to revise. Let's read the explanation that the book gives us. In a passage with more than one paragraph, like in this case we have 2 paragraphs, you should be sure to read the first sentence of each paragraph to determine the subject, title, or main idea. In example 2, the first sentence of the first paragraph indicates that the first paragraph is about the process of nitrogen fixation. If you look only at the first paragraph, you might choose the incorrect answer, which is letter A. That's not correct, which could be a good title for the first paragraph only. The first sentence of the second paragraph indicates that the process of the nitrification is discussed in the second paragraph. Answer C. Is incorrect also because the return of nitrogen to the air is the process of the nitrification, and this is discussed in the second paragraph only. So answer D is incorrect because the effect of nitrogen on plant life is not discussed in this passage. The best answer to this question is then letter B. The 2 nitrogen processes are nitrogen fixation, which is discussed in the first paragraph, and the nitrification, which is discussed in the second paragraph. So as you may see, the correct answer to this question is letter B. 2 nitrogen processes, because the paragraphs talk about the information that the book says or explains. The first one talks about the fixation process of nitrogen, while in the second one we have the opposite of this process, which is the nitrification. That's why whenever you have to find the main idea, you don't have to go to the beginning, but you have to study the beginning and then make your own conclusions on what is the best answer for you. Let's continue with the following outlines on how to find the key information that you should remember about a main idea. It says how to identify the question that you have to do when you want to find the main idea, and they are: what is the topic of the passage? What is the subject of the passage? What is the main idea of the passage? What is the author's main point in the passage? What is the author primarily concerned? Which of the following would be the best title? And then, where to find the answer? Well, the answer to this type of question can generally be determined by looking at the first sentence of each paragraph. So whenever you want to find the main idea, having or not having 3 or more paragraphs or only one, you have to identify the appropriate questions to do. Those questions that we have in here are going to be the model for us to follow. Let's continue about how to answer the questions. First, you have to read the paragraph, the first line of the paragraphs that you have. Whenever you find them, you're going to look for a common theme or idea on these first lines. Number 3, you have to pass your eyes quickly over the rest of the passage. Check that you really found the topic sentence. 4, whenever you have done that, you have to eliminate any wrong answers and choose the best one from the remaining choices. Of course, for these you have to analyze and to make decisions. In this exercise that we are going to do this week about finding the main idea, try to read first the first lines of the paragraphs that you have. Then you have to find the common idea or something that is general for all of the paragraphs that you find. Then you have to go over the reading one more time by quickly moving your eyes to the rest of the passage, and there is when you are going to be able to choose and find what is the most important or best idea. Let's continue with the skill of recognizing the organization of ideas. This is the second skill. So here we have another example on how to find the organization of the paragraphs and the ideas provided. So let's read together, please. It says in the reading comprehension section of the TOEFL test, there will sometimes be questions about the organization of ideas in a passage. In this type of question, you will be asked to determine how the ideas in one paragraph or paragraphs relate to the ideas in another paragraph or paragraphs. Here we have the example, and it is about the baseball. So let's read together. Please read with me aloud as you listen to me, and with your eyes, you go on the lines. Example, the passage. If asked who invented the game of baseball, most Americans will probably reply that it was Abner Doubleday. At the beginning of the century, there was some disagreement over how the game of baseball had actually originated, so sporting goods manufacturer Spalding inaugurated a commission to research the question. In 1908, a report was published by the commission in which Abner Doubleday, a U.S. Army officer from Cooperstown, New York, was given credit for the invention of the game. The National Baseball Hall of Fame was established in Cooperstown in honor of Doubleday. Today, most sports historians are in agreement that Doubleday really did not have much to do with the development of baseball. Instead, baseball seems to be a close relation to the English game of rounders and probably has English rather than American roots. You see? So this information of the book gives us one big paragraph and one small paragraph. In order to find how the ideas are posted, you have to recognize the organization they provide. So on the first paragraph, this exposes a question about who is the inventor of the baseball. Then eventually they expose the ideas on the manufacturer of Spalding and also about Abner Doubleday as the inventor of the game. But later on the second paragraph, they expose that the most historians agree that the baseball game was maybe even an English creation rather than an American one. So here we have the question. The second paragraph is one. What it exposes? A. Provides examples to support the ideas on the first paragraph. B. Precedes the ideas in the first paragraph. C. Outlines the effect of the idea in the first paragraph. Or D. Refutes the idea in the first paragraph. Here we have the answer checked because the second paragraph refuses the idea or refutes the idea or the first paragraph that exposes that the baseball was an American game and the inventor was Abner Doubleday. So, to answer the question, it says it is necessary to look at the main ideas of each of the two paragraphs. The main idea of the first paragraph is found at the first sentence of the first paragraph. Most people believe that Abner Doubleday invented the game of baseball. That is the main idea of paragraph 1. On the paragraph 2, it says the main idea of the second paragraph is found in the first line of the second paragraph. You see? What says historians generally agree that Doubleday did not invent baseball. So the second paragraph, therefore, contradicts or refutes the information of the first paragraph. The best answer to your information, it will be then letter D. You see, we have learned on how to find the main ideas, how to recognize the passages, the organization of information, mostly how to identify which is the correct main idea in paragraphs, and especially in readings that have more than one paragraph. So I invite you to continue studying, and please do the practices and do them by thinking, analyzing, and always trying to do your best. Thank you guys. Good luck.